Good evening, good afternoon, good morning to everyone around the world who's watching us today. Welcome to another exciting episode of Critical Eye with Dr. Jibran. And today we're going to discuss generative AI, the latest idea, the latest technology, the latest algorithms that have swept the market throughout all the fields and all the categories. And for that, I have really exciting person with us, the tech guru, the AI guru, the international speaker. He's got his roots around all around the globe, and I'm so glad he's here today. We have Edgar Perez with us here today. Thank you, Edgar, for joining us.
Thank you, Jibran. My pleasure.
So before I jump into the questions, Edgar, I went to your website and I saw Edgar AI. Could you introduce us to Edgar AI, please? I mean, for the viewers.
Of course. Well, everybody knows Edgar Perez. It's easy to Google me and find information about my career and what I'm doing right now. But obviously, Edgar Perez only can speak English and Spanish. However, the world is big enough, right? It's not only the 1 billion people who can understand Spanish and English, let's say, but the 8 billion people. So when you think about the development of these new technologies, we need to think about how to embrace them, how to leverage this power. And one of the reasons why I decided to create a virtual persona, a virtual Edgar Perez, is that capability that now I can create videos, for example, in any language. You can go online, you can find Edgar Perez here, and you will see how this avatar, this virtual Edgar Perez, is able to reach to billions of people more than what Edgar Perez can do. On top of that, Edgar Perez doesn't get tired, doesn't ask for a salary.
And is it like easy to do so, or is it like difficult for people who are not technical? Is it like really easy?
Well, I work with a company that developed these type of technologies for major organizations. This is actually the name of the company is Like and is based in Beijing, China. What the company does is basically provide tools for companies, for example, to provide training programs. If they have a favorite trainer and they would like to create many programs like that, they can just reuse the avatar as much as they like. There is, of course, a development fee, the investment that you have to commit. There is also a maintenance cost that every month you have commit, but nonetheless, I think the benefits are definitely very important as well.
So, okay, so let's put it this way: since what you doing as Edgar AI is something reaching out to billions of people speaking gazillions of different languages and everything, and it makes it very easy as long as you have the tech and you're able to use it. So that comes into the influence and the impact and the benefits, maybe some benefits, some negative aspects as well. Coming to that thing, we talk all the time about how the West is utilizing, or how the first world countries, rather, I would say, is utilizing generative AI. But I want to talk about the third world countries. What do you think using this AI, generative AI, or AI tools by the industry people, by the corporate companies, by businesses in the third world countries, how can they get rid of their unique issues or problems through using this generative AI?
Well, when you think about the development of new technology, certainly the first world is going to probably have the first look at these new technologies. That is the case with many developments in the last centuries. However, ultimately, the benefits of these technologies will impact people all over the world. Today, we all benefit from fire. We all benefit from calculators, from the invention of the wheel thousands of years ago. So ultimately, we all take advantage of that. Now, when you think about generative AI, certainly the availability of these tools is already out there. Companies around the world have created hundreds of models that allow us today to come up with writing poems, songs, videos, music, and many of these tools are still already available for people all over the world. While it's true, some capabilities will be you will need to be a subscriber to be able to take advantage of that, but nonetheless, the basic capabilities are available for all of us, and all of us can take advantage of that in many different areas. For example, when you think about third world countries, let's talk about access to information and services. A lot of information online is only available in English, and many of us, that's not our native language. The reason then is that generative AI can help us to translate this type of information to the language that we need. Perhaps we cannot see, or a person who cannot definitely read will be able to find this information through audio in the language that they or their preference. How are we able to do so? Using these type of tools. Of course, at the moment, we're in the early stages, but definitely there's going to be a lot of benefit, enhancing productivity, efficiency, helping innovation, helping also persuade creativity. That will be something that is going to be coming in the next years, decades.
But Edgar, like we know that the technology is really advanced and the resources are there in the first world country. But my question again is, when when we talk about the other countries, like for example, I'm based out of Pakistan. We're still a developing country. There are other countries around the side as well. When we take on AI as a generative currency, what do you think would be the overall impact? Because there is a huge debate that AI for third world countries could be very destructive. It could be really problematic. So let's talk about the impact, the influence, and whether it's going to have a more positive impact, or there are certain things that we have to take care of as well.
Sure. Let me take you back a few thousand years when humanity invented fire.
Right.
Fire can benefit you, but it can also kill you. So the technology per se doesn't have a, let's say, good or bad reason to live, to exist. So it all depends on how we're going to use that technology. Yes, some people are afraid of the development of generative AI because we imagine that there's going to be the development of a super intelligence out there that will try to dominate mankind. To be honest, I am very doubtful. I believe that there will be a lot of benefits. And if you look at third world countries, my own included, Peru, I can tell you that education it's a very important area. These technologies have big applications. Today, many students don't have a chance to have tutors at home or a teacher available 24/7. Yet, if they want some help in mathematics, English, or any other subject, they be able to use these technologies and have these answers at your fingertips, going to a website with this tool or through their cell phones. So that is something that is going to be very important. Equally, think about healthcare, diagnosis, that it's impossible probably to find doctors in every area in our own countries. Yet, if we're able to access these technologies, we'll be able to have basic health information that will be helpful before we can go to a bigger healthcare center, for example. So yes, there are going to be also technology in terms of enhancing creativity. I am a book author, and when I write a book, of course, the book has to have a nice cover. Yet, if you ask me to write a book, I can write a book. If you ask me to design the cover of the book, for the life of me, I won't be able to do so. Yet, today, I can use many of these tools that will be helping me to come up with these initial tools instead of hiring a very expensive design, for example. So these are practical benefits that people from both developed and underdeveloped countries will take advantage of.
So I guess it's safe to say that well, back in June when we met, we were discussing how technology, the use of technology, is really important. How we use it. So the AI generative technology is there for the third world countries, for first world countries, for everyone to use. It's not the technology itself; it's how we use it, how we capitalize on it, and whether the question again is whether we are driving the technology or the technology is driving us. So that's a huge debate for another day. But let's come back to generative AI. You've already spoken about education, so I'm not going to touch that sector. Back in Beijing, when we went to a few companies, we saw that their AI implemented in healthcare. So what do you think, as far as third world countries are concerned, what other sectors could be vital where the adoption of AI could be a game changer?
Well, I think probably the most important one is going to be education. Because today, in general, AI, when the first thing that comes to people's minds is that AI eventually is going to take my job. And you
Yes.
talk about Edgar Perez AI. So if you already have Edgar Perez AI, why do you need Edgar Perez? I can tell you, my job is not going to be replaced by Edgar Perez AI because at the end of the day, I control that technology. I am the one who's going to be out there, and basically the press is helping me, is enhancing my performance. So when you think about people losing jobs to AI, that's not exactly the case. A person might lose a job to a person using AI. So if I want to avoid that, if I want to not go that way, I need to be trained. I need to be prepared also to embrace these technologies. So education is key. Affordability is key as well. Many of these companies, of course, have offers that can be very expensive for companies, but also they make the products available for free in basic cases for users around the world. So that's the type of affordability that governments needs to ensure so everybody in a society can benefit from it. Not only the people who have the meanings, but also everybody. So education is key in terms of expanding access to these tools and also getting better prepared for a society when every position will be impacted by AI.
I totally agree because the other day I was having a meeting with someone, and the debate again was that AI is replacing people's job. There are people losing jobs, but I was on the side of discussing this, that AI is not making people lose job. AI is creating more jobs, and AI can never be independent, because unless, like the movies that we watch from Hollywood, it gets a self awareness, there is going to be a human brain in the back of the algorithm setting in all the sample work, all the algorithm work, all the data, and the innovation. The AI has to have a human generative innovation in the back end to work perfectly. That's my viewpoint. Do you agree, disagree? Do you have any insight on this particular, just a bit of your insight on this particular aspect?
Well, I think again we can go back to any technology, and while certainly many of these technologies had big potential benefits, people also talk about the drawbacks of these new technologies. Think about nuclear energy, think about fire, think about automobiles. 100 years ago, some people were still protesting. Why do we need to adopt automobiles when we already have cars, horses, and so on? Yet we saw today that the benefit of these technologies definitely outweigh any potential drawbacks. And that's what we will eventually see with AI tool. Obviously, it's not that we're reaching a point of culmination of technology development. AI is just one step in this progression of technology. Perhaps we don't even need to call AI, it's just technology. Generative AI is also another stage. That doesn't mean that we're going to reach a pinnacle and any progress will stop. Not at all. We're still on a long way before we think about reaching the top. We don't even know what's the top. Yet we know that evolution technology it's never stopping, and this acceleration is actually growing and growing. So we know these developments will come. Yet we don't think that we're going to give any to the end.
Edgar, you mentioned about progress and the top, right? So there are institutions, there are people, think tanks that believe that the advancement of technology and the unfair distribution could increase the digital divide. Do you think AI is going to further that cause, or it's going to deplete the digital divide? Do you have any? What do you think about that?
Well, let me remind you when, let's say, the invention of fire. People thought, oh, this technology is going to help mankind. Assume that there was a PR team for the inventor of fire. He might have said, oh, this invention is the best thing ever. We're going to solve hunger in the world. Yet that didn't exactly happen. So, as much as we see great promises from technology, it also has some limitations. What we have to do, of course, is for every technology, make it available for most people around the world. And also educate the people to use this technology. Because I don't gain anything, humanity won't gain anything if we make this technology available, yet people are not able to use it or they don't know how to use it to take advantage of that. So it goes hand on hand. At the end of the day, we need to make sure that the governments will ensure that the technology is available for the citizens, and the citizens are well educated to take advantage of these technologies.
Let me stop you there. You said governments. This is a very crucial point, right? How do you think the governments should handle this situation? Should they be developing policies? Should they be working with think tanks? How do you think that's going? How can they regulate? Not regulate could be a wrong word. How could they manage the proper implementation of AI in the economy in their countries?
Well, as I said before, technologies per se are not good or bad. It all depends on the implementation. And while certainly the developers of the technologies will have certain goals in mind, we also need to think about the population. And that's something that the governments are in charge of. So when you think about automobiles, obviously automobiles created great benefits for mankind, yet there were also accidents. And that's what we have tried to minimize throughout history. The same thing with planes. We regulators to put some measures in place so we minimize any loss of human lives. Well, AI might not be in that category of killing humans, for example, yet there are some potential consequences of these technologies. So, yes, governments will need to be a necessary counterweight to the influence of founders of these companies developing that technologies. So, they do have a role. While we don't know exactly what's the final form of regulation that we need, We do need that they need to be involved. We do know that they need to be involved in the development of these technologies.
So, Edgar, coming from your huge experience, and you've been, giving international keynotes, and you've been working in AI for so long, we get this, huge, famous statement that AI can change economies, it can drive economies, it can lead them to great heights. Have you, from your experience, really seen an economy or just a sector really boom because of the implementation of AI? If so, please do mention an example, something that we can relate to.
If you look at any technology, obviously there are some companies, some technology developed in certain geographies, yet the impact is going to felt around the world. Think about this company called TSMC in Taiwan. This company develops chips. And probably the company was doing great the last 10 years, 20 years, yet they never expected that there could have been a great increase in demand because of this AI trend. Why? Because to develop this technology, we need to develop very specialized chips. And these chips can be definitely only developed at this moment by TSMC, a company that didn't foresee AI, yet they were at the right place at the right time. So it's going to create a big impact for this company, depending on what you want to do. Imagine they wanted to focus on chips, great, they will do great. There will be other areas or territories that focus on applications. And if they train the population to be able to use these tools and they are able to market these to the world, they can also become very successful leveraging these technologies. There may be other companies creating new companies in this space. So it all depends on the goal that every region or country in the world will want to take. Obviously, I cannot offer everything. I need to find an angle where I can have an advantage, and that's what it's going to drive me to success through technology in general, not only generative AI. That's just one step in the inexorable walk of technology.
Okay, let's say, Edgar, let's say I'm a business and I'm a startup, and I've been trying to work and everything. So I want to start implementing a use of AI. So what would be the first preliminary steps for me to go ahead and integrate AI into my business? Do you have any idea for that?
Certainly, today, many millions of companies are already employing these tools. If I have a retail company, if I want to create a website and I want to show my products to my clients, I want to enhance awareness. I want to make sure that clients like coming to my website, they find me online on. How do I ensure that these people coming to my website stay with me? They browse my pages, they look at my products, and eventually that leads to a conversion and they buy my products and services. Well, I need to make my website beautiful, engaging. How do I do that? Nice text, beautiful pictures, nice videos. All of these elements can potentially be created by generative AI. I can come up with beautiful descriptions. I can create images in seconds. I can create videos. For now, short videos, but don't be surprised. In only a few years, you will be able to create much longer videos using these technologies. So that's something that I can do in seconds. That's a big change for this small company. So much that Amazon, for example, that caters to many retail companies in the US, is deploying these tools to help these retailers create ads so they can put ads in Amazon. Yet, for many of them, it's difficult to hire a graphic designer or a video crew to go to on location and to be able to record a video. That can be very expensive, time consuming. Yet, with the availability of these tools, they will be able to create this type of content very easily. And that's something very affordable at the moment as well.
Wait, Edgar, you mentioned about generating images to suggestive comments and videos. I've already seen Edgar AI working brilliantly in different languages. While I see the positive aspect of and the efficiency level of AI, generative AI, at the same time, there are a lot of questions to the ethical dilemma, the use of AI, because right now it's in the hands of every individual through apps and maybe online scripts and everything like that. How do we address this ethical dilemma? What is this ethical dilemma, and how do you think we can take a control of it before it actually gets out of hand? Because usually what we do is technology something gets out of the hand, and that's when we start thinking about it. Why not take control of it right now and not have Skynet take over, just like how we saw in the movies and everything? So please, address this thing for the viewers right now.
One of the things that AI has a lot of explaining to do and it still has is how to explain results. AI, all the applications of AI today basically rely on artificial neural networks, which is basically simulations of what the brain works. How the brain works is inspiring the development of AI and today's generative AI. Yet, we see that these models work. If you want to find, let's say, a cat in a number of pictures, the model will be able to identify the cat. So it works. Now, if you ask me, how does it work? I won't be able to tell you because the model by itself is able to configure its management to be able to get the right weights, to the right biases, and so on. So it's able to give you the right result. However, you're not able to explain exactly how this is going to work. So if I'm, let's say, a worker and I want to apply for a loan at the bank, I can apply, I can submit my information, and I am denied. Can I ask the bank, why did you deny my application? In the old days, the bank might tell me exactly, yes, this is the reason, one, two, three, why you were denied. With AI, that might not be possible. So that is an issue. How to be able to explain? There's a lot of research in that area trying to understand how these systems arrive to certain decisions. So that's one question that companies using AI will need to resolve and make sure to deploy AI when it's actually reasonable to deploy. Obviously, decisions that are super priority in the life of a person, that will be something that still needs to be tested before using AI or these technologies there. Another thing is also biases. And obviously, when you think about generative AI, these models use information available online. So you can make sure that if you go online, you will find all types of information, from very credible information to rumors to innuendo. So that's something that we need to recognize. AI will need to make sure that if I create a model that's going to be reliable, it needs to filter the information. So only credible information enters into these models so the results equally can be credible. So garbage in, garbage out. So today you find some models that hallucinate things. Why? Because there are some information online they are relying on that they are able to produce at the end. That is something that we also need to research and participate in how to
I,
combat.
I think
And
that's a
then the final thing,
yeah. Sure, please, please.
if you allow me, the final thing is about privacy. If
Yes.
you ask a question to these models, please don't enter any information you don't want to be published online. Because many of these models are using the information that we are entering through our prompts to train the models. And those models, without them, can show up in the results of another person's question.
A wonderful opinion, wonderful suggestion by Edgar Perez. Viewers, keep this in mind. If you don't want particular information to be there out in the internet for the world to know, do not enter it into any AI or any portals where they ask for information. Keep it secure, safe. You have to be responsible yourself. While the companies, the governments, industries are trying to make it as safe as possible, but there are loopholes. So make sure you keep your privacy at priority and use it in a fair way. At the same time, Edgar, you've raised a really good question about generative bias, because to be honest, I've studied some cases. I won't be taking names because no, we're not here to target anything. In interviews, we've seen in AI based interviews that people with different colors are facing problems and their recognitions of the voice or their facial recognitions and things like that. So that's probably because of the racial bias and the racial bias data that's in there, maybe the lack of data that's in there to address these particular things. So I think the AI should be addressed at a global level rather than in a country's level, because that way it can integrate. So coming to that integration question, governments would want to integrate AI eventually, just like how, for example, in third world countries, I've seen banks now integrating WhatsApp APIs and different APIs to address, have discussions with the customers. It's going to get implemented. The question is, what are the important things for the government to look at when they're trying to integrate it and make sure that it comes in as fair and is actually being applied for the entire mass, not just for few people.
I think the key word here is going to be accountability. Because if you think about development of these models, you want the developers also to make sure that people will rely on these models. And if you want to offer them answers that you claim those can be credible, you want to make sure that these answers are really credible. There was a case a few weeks ago of a lawyer who was filing a motion on behalf of a client in New York City. And this lawyer, unfortunately, was not well informed. And he basically asked ChatGPT to generate a motion. And of course, ChatGPT, with access to a lot of data, he was able to generate a very great looking motion that actually rely on past cases that actually supported his argument. Yet, when the judge reviewed the motion, he was unable to find those cases. These were totally made up. So the tool
Oh,
really was fooling the lawyer, and of course, the judge thought that the lawyer was doing this on purpose. He was just ignorant of how the model was working. So that just gives you an idea that we need to recognize the potential of these tools, but also we need to recognize it has limitations. There is a place for these tools. So if you think about creating a new song, creating a new script, a story, for example, these tools are very creative, and you're really unleashing your creativity if you leverage these tools. However, if you're going to be like our lawyer friend, please don't use this for something that is going to be super important for your career or your client.
imagine being in the courtroom, having the motion presented, and the judge asked, "Where are these references from?" And you can't answer that. I mean, that could be a huge disaster. Well, suggestion for people to look up for the research as well. Who people who are doing education research or corporate research do, double check the references that are coming in until the time they're being regulated or they're controlled in a good amount. So we've got a very personalized question, in a way that the viewers asked that AI is taking over the future work done by human. Will content writers start losing their jobs? Because I've seen this because content writing was used to be one of the most famous jobs in the freelancing market. So that's a very valid question. So I would love to for you to address it.
Well, I can tell you my own example. Look, I am the one giving speeches. I am the one at the end responsible for my delivery. So I need to develop as much as I get information from these tools and they help me to come up with some initial ideas of what a draft is going to be. It's me at the end responsible. So yes, obviously, when you think about the development of these technologies, not only writing, I mean, many jobs will be impacted in different degrees. Some of them at 80%, 60%, 40%. Yet we need to understand that there is potential to use this to enhance our careers as well, to be able to do more with less or to do the same in less time. So there is a real potential. Now, if I decide not to use that potential, somebody else will. So I need to be prepared for that. Now, it's true too that many new jobs will be created that we don't know of yet now. 40 years ago, nobody would have thought that a search engine optimization specialist would be in high demand today. In the same way, these new technologies will bring new jobs. And also, again, it's not the end of the development of technology. New technologies coming up, they're always developing new jobs. So let's make sure that we and that technology is something that we cannot stop. If we don't take advantage of that, somebody else will. So we need to be alert about these developments to be better prepared. That's where education enters into the picture.
And I think a lot of awareness needs to be sent out there as well, because I've seen tools that create content like AI content, and then there are now new tools that say humanize AI content data. So we're confused. We don't know which part do we want to land on, about whether we want to make use of the content data, or we want to rehumanize it because people would put it into AI detector and not charge you. But where can you address this point that, for example, if I'm using AI to generate content and I'm giving them prompts, this is a question from a fellow think fellow of ours as well. We are having this discussion in June. I'll tell you the name later on. I won't want to mention it right
Mhm.
now, but he was saying that if you're giving the prompts to AI and the AI is creating the content in regards to the prompts, so that content is yours because it's use your brain. So do you think it's the same way, or the company should understand that it's the human brain giving the prompts and the content is okay to go so? Or what do you think? What's your opinion on that?
Well, let's make sure that we understand that it's very difficult to find real new content. If you think about Leonardo da Vinci, or Michelangelo, Raphael, those great painters out there, they didn't make up what they did by themselves. Also learn from masters before. And equally, any major painter today has also learned some techniques from these masters. So it is very difficult to find somebody who's, I created this completely. At some moment,
Mm.
I read the internet, I found information online. I was educated also with a number in the number of schools or with teachers. So that's the development today. So it's going to be very difficult to claim that any content is going to be totally new. That's why using these tools, it's impossible really to have a copyright, to have rights to the creation, because anybody with the right prompt, with the same prompt, might be able to reach to similar answer.
Right. So, yeah, it's matter of understanding, and it's another debate of whether how creative the content could be. But then again, like you said, you addressed this in the earlier time of our interview, is that we someone is on the backside of the AI generating those ideas, those new technologies. It's going to be innovative human mind in the back as well. So, coming to that. I mean, we see a lot of adoption of AI all around the globe in China, in Western countries, in the third world countries, but it's not the same when it comes to less developed countries. So, what do you think is the role of the entire globe right now, especially the developed countries? The eight companies that are out there who are, advocating technology adoption, what are their role right now? Are they doing something, or are they supposed to do something, in your opinion, to have that integrated in a fair means in the developed or less developed countries, both way, I guess.
If you want to find an American businessman who is loved in China, it would be very hard. Yet, Bill Gates is probably the most loved one. When he comes to China, he's royalty. Why is that? Well, he came out with Windows. He came out with Microsoft Office, with Word, Excel, PowerPoint. And no student or employee today would live without these type of tools. So affordability at the end of the day is something that we need to guarantee, and governments will need to play a role on that. Well, companies, of course, they have a fair right to get some profits out of their inventions. They also need to ensure that everybody, even as I said, the people who have minimum access to education, will still be able to access this tool and to start experimenting. There might be some talent out there who sees opportunities and eventually is able to create new tools as well. But that's something that only governments can enforce in this world today. Companies by themselves, of course, who wouldn't want to charge higher fees for companies to use these technologies? Yet, governments and the society in general will need to also push them in the direction that these technologies also need to improve the benefit not only for the big societies that are third world countries, but also populations in all different countries.
Wonderful. So, Edgar, if Edgar were to shape the future in the next decade, what do you think, in your perspective, from your experience, AI being AI generation, generative AI being there, or AI itself as a whole being there? How do you see the future? Maybe in for the next 5 years, because I think 10 years would be so long. Because I have this really funny term that I use to explain people the advancement of technologies. That I slept today, it was iPhone 14. I woke up, it was iPhone 15 coming to the market. So that's how the rapidly the technology changes. So in the next 5 years, where do you think the globe is going to be with AI?
Well, 5 years is relatively a short time, yet I can tell you that in 5 years, most probably people might have moved on from generative AI because it's a promising technology. It has a lot of applications. We're already using it, yet it also has limitations. So we're going to find a way to replace that. We're going to find new technologies that will replace that. So 5 years, I'm sure people won't be talking about generative AI. There will be something new that is bigger, better, more powerful. And that's technology. 2 years ago, everybody was talking about the metaverse, how important it's going to be, it's going to transform our lives. And today we see that it's a dream that obviously it's going to come at some moment, yet it's not by itself the biggest technology of all. Now we see that to bring that to our realities, we need to use other technologies as well, like generative AI. So, well, it's true. These names are very catchy and catch attention of the population. Technology is a big set of technologies, specific areas of development. So we'll see in 10 years something totally different that nobody expected. Yet is bringing us further ahead in our goal to eventually find an artificial general intelligence, which is the application of human intelligence.
And Edgar, if you were to send one message to all the individuals, all the youth around the globe that are using AI or are planning to use AI, one thing that you would want them to know before or while they're using AI, other than the Privacy Act, what do you think
Mhm.
would that be from your mind, for just back of the mind?
Well, I think all of us uh, need to think that talent is equally distributed around the world, yet opportunity not so much. So let's make sure that the opportunity that we have to use AI today becomes potentially an opportunity also to launch new companies, to launch new ideas. So let's not stay in the spirit of just being users of this technology, but eventually take the advantage of these opportunities and think that we can also create something on top of that. Obviously, it's a powerful technology. If we dominate that, you are now sitting on the shoulders of giants. So you can create something even bigger than that. So that potential is available for all of us because talent is there.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Edgar Perez for you. I would just like to let you guys know who's watching or who's going to watch this show. If you're a company, you're an industry, you're an individual who's looking to adopt AI or have AI into their business or in some project, Edgar Perez is one of the best persons to reach out to. MrEdgarPerez.com. If you want to reach him out for, if you're unable to secure an appointment with him, just get in touch with me and I'll try to hook you up with Edgar Perez. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our page. Edgar Perez, thank you so much once again for joining this, giving such a lucrative ideas and information on AI. We expect to bug you again in the future for more generative talk. And once again, thank you so much for being on the show. And if you want to say anything to the public, this is your point, and then I'll call it a day.
Well, thank you very much, Jibran, for the invitation, and I'm looking forward to visiting your country at some moment in the near future.
Most welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, and see you. We'll be back again for yet another episode. Thank you, and good evening.
Thank you.